Days ago, a 64-year-old man in New York City jumped to his death from his 16th floor apartment. His neighbors believed it was due to him being isolated because of coronavirus. His suicide note read, "How do you enjoy life?" Should we expect more of the same going forward, or are there ways to prevent these horrible tragedies? And of course, there are ways to prevent it, but you have to acknowledge first that this is happening, and there are red flags to this. I'm talking to Dr. Norman Freed, who is a disaster mental health specialist. Donna is listening in because she's been dealing with some of these issues herself. Uh, Dr. Freed, how do people spot what are some of the red flags they can look to so they don't get to the point that they feel hopeless and that they're a burden?
It's a wonderful question. It's very important that those of us that are self-isolating, socially isolating in an environment where we're alone, we're widowers, or our families have grown and moved on, it's important that we notice many of the symptoms of depression. And Donna has elaborated several of them for us gratefully, and those include a sense of hopelessness in the future, a lack of energy or interest in work activity or even the usual events of the day, a sense of lack of order and structure in our day. We remember that structure regulates emotion. So when we create structure, we actually stave off those feelings of depression. Donna and others will talk about feeling as if they're wading through maple syrup to get from one side of the room to the other. You call that, Dr. Phil, psychomotor retardation. These are the symptoms we need to look for. And we have to tell people when we feel these things that we're not in a good place and we need to reach out so others will know and help us. Connection breaks the barrier, the constriction and isolation that we are all feeling these days, and it will help us maintain better mental health.
And when you see people that are feeling this depression, whether it's acute or chronic, it really can have a profound effect on their physical health, correct?
And it's important to remember that some people will not consider themselves depressed, but depression and anxiety are sister disorders. So for those out who are watching who are saying, I'm not sad, I'm not hopeless, but very anxious, that's another sign that they're going through a type of depression or dysthymia. And it can ultimately lead to lower immune functioning. So we want to maintain physical fitness and work on boosting our immune system, as well as staying connected to those that we care about through the internet or media platforms or telephone. We want to have structure in our day, as you so nicely placed it, so that we can all stave off what is really a malaise that is setting over our society.
Yeah, and listen, people, there are red flags, and we've put them up, and we always put numbers up for hotlines. And understand when you call a hotline, a suicide hotline, they're not going to force you to give your name. They're not going to come knocking on your door. They're going to answer your questions. They're going to listen to you. So don't feel that you're going to put pressure on yourself. But some people wrongly think people that talk about suicide don't commit it. That is not true. So talking about suicide as an option is a red flag. Researching ways to kill themselves is a red flag. If they feel or talk about hopelessness or being a burden to others are red flags. Feeling trapped, backed into a corner, whether it's legal or financial, disappointing people in their life. They feel like they're in a situation they can't fix, or they're suffering unbearable pain. These are all signs. And if you see them withdrawing from life, whether it's friends, church, family, whatever, that's an important sign. And telling people goodbye in a profound way, you need to pay attention to that. If they start giving away prized possessions, and of course, as Dr. Freed was saying, depression, anxiety, shame, anger, rage, all of these things are warning signs. So learn to listen to the people around you, and they'll tell you what they're thinking if you will just listen. But you do have to listen. And Donna, I can't tell you how glad I am that you've given a voice to your feelings. And I really hope that you'll behave your way out of this the way that I've been talking about, by creating that structure, getting some purpose, and re-engaging with the world. You don't have to be lonely just because you're in social isolation.
Thank you. I think that that's really important. And I was already thinking about things that you were talking about earlier. And I used to love to write lists of things I wanted to get done. And I think I'm going to write a list and then walk the dogs and maybe get started right away.
Sounds like a great idea.